I got a question the other day about the longest surveillance I've ever been on. It was 22 hours straight, but it didn't start out to be 22 hours. Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, which is premium private investigator training from someone who's been there and done that. I got a call to do surveillance. It was kind of a last minute deal. It really was, can you come out today? It was from an attorney's office, so it was a reputable thing. And the surveillance started out, I got there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 p.m. The surveillance was supposed to last until a sheriff's deputy got out to take care of some business out there. So they said, well, I should be gone by 5 o'clock at the latest, so maybe a 4-hour surveillance. Fair enough. As it gets close to 5 o'clock, I get a phone call from the client saying that the paperwork that they needed to handle through the court system got slowed down. They wouldn't be able to get to see a judge until the morning. The judge came in at 9 a.m. They wanted to know if I could stay on site and do surveillance. They'd get first thing in the morning, they said, they'd go into judges' chambers, they'd get the signatures they needed, and have somebody out there shortly thereafter. So I told them, sure, I would do that. So 5 o'clock turned to 6 o'clock p.m., 7 o'clock, midnight, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's certainly getting to be a very long surveillance. And as I'm counting down to 9 o'clock, I know that they're going to get into judges' chambers at 9, probably not really deal with this until 9:10, 9:20, still have to send a deputy out, but I'm still kind of counting down to 9 o'clock. It's becoming a long time. Finally, about 11 o'clock, the deputy came out, took care of the business he had to take care of, and I could end the surveillance. Now, by this time, I was just ragged tired. One of the problems I had was that I had only gotten about 4 hours sleep the night before. I had a bad night's sleep. So I had been up straight for about 26 hours from the time I woke up that morning until the time I ended surveillance. But I'd only gotten about 4 hours sleep out of about the last 44 hours of sleep. So by the time this surveillance ended, I was ready to end it. I was seeing giant chickens walking across the road. I'd have to shake my head and clear out my vision. But I did the job and got it done. Once the deputy did what he had to do, I got into the front of the van. I drove about 2 blocks to a parking lot, shut off the van, went back into the back of the van, and fell asleep. Now, I only slept about 2 hours, but it felt great to me, and then I was able to drive back to my home. So if you're wondering what it's like to do a 22-hour surveillance, imagine for a moment you start out fresh as a flower and sleep deprivation is not your biggest problem. What's it like to do 22 hours of surveillance? Climb into a vehicle, put curtains up on all the windows but one, and sit and stare out that window for 22 hours. That's what it's like to do surveillance. Now back then, society had made the leap from pagers to cell phones, but these were flip phones. There was no internet on your phone. There was no option for anything as far as entertainment goes. You were not able to play games or surf the web or anything like that. I did have a portable radio with an earpiece so I could listen to the radio, but that was about it. So this is an interesting story. It's kind of one of those things that if you do this long enough, you accumulate kind of interesting things like this. But really, what's the importance to you? What's the lesson here? And the lesson is to be prepared. Be ready for a surveillance like that. It was a last-minute thing, but my surveillance van was ready. I have a surveillance bag that I was able just to pick up, put in the van, and go. Also, things like the amount of batteries you have. Back then it was tape that you recorded onto, but media cards that you have to record on. Are you prepared to do a surveillance like that today? Even a short surveillance. Are you prepared to just jump up and go if you have to? And certainly if it goes long, do you have the battery power and the media for your surveillance? Do you have food and water? Now, rightly so, probably you could swing by a convenience store or something and get some gallons of water and get some food real quick on your way there. But then, think about that. Are you ready? And are you ready to handle being in your van for that long if you got to go to the bathroom? So these are all things. Think about now so that you're ready when the time comes. Battery power. If you set up a battery rig like I teach in the Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Surveillance using a car battery and inverter, and I show you all that in detail in the DVD. If you set up like that, you're going to have plenty of battery power to last for your surveillance the whole time. Finally, what does something like that pay, a 22-hour surveillance? Well, at my rate of $65 an hour, that worked out to a little over $1,400, $1,400 for that long day of work. But that's a pretty nice little paycheck. That's a pretty nice little payday for you. If you're in this line of work, especially if you work for yourself, those things are few and far between, a nice giant chunk in a short period of time like that, but it really helps. It really makes the difference. If you're wondering what kind of client drops $1,400, $1,500 just on a moment's notice to have surveillance, this was a law firm, and this was a case that involved hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million or more worth of equipment. And so if you're talking about even $100,000, to drop $1,000, $1,500, that's 1%. People understand that you need to spend money to protect what you have, and part of that sometimes requires hiring a private investigator. So if they can hire me for $1,500 to protect $500,000 worth of equipment, that's certainly worth it. Keep that in mind when you're looking for clients. You want people who have the kind of money that it takes to pay you what you're worth. I certainly hope you get some really nice big paydays like that, and I hope that you're ready for them. This is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.